Is the answer in Washington, D.C.? How many figured out the answer is not in Washington, D.C.? All right, now let me say this. I hope every person here votes. You should vote. It's a good thing to do as a citizen. But how many of you, like me, don't like any of the major candidates running for office? I mean, you just sit there and say, you know, if this is the best we got, we're in more trouble than we thought. And somebody says, well, David, would you go vote for the lesser of evils? And the answer is yes. I will always go vote for the lesser of evils, because if I don't, the worser of evils will win. And so, you know, you want to think that through a little bit. But the answer for America is not in Washington, D.C. Somebody says, well, David, is the answer in the courtroom? I mean, you do cases and you're in trial. I mean, you've been to the Supreme Court. Some of you might remember the Terri Schiavo case from a couple of years ago. That's the only case in history to go to the U.S. Supreme Court and back twice in 10 days. Kind of unprecedented, probably will never be reduplicated. And you say, well, David, if you get the right case before the Supreme Court and the right facts or the right situation, will the courts fix America? How many figured out the courts aren't going to fix America? And some of what we talked about in Sunday school, the courts aren't even looking to any absolute truth or any absolute authority. And so the courts are not our answer. I think sometimes we like to blame. We like to say, you know what? There's these liberal or evil or ungodly people. And we'll just put them in a big group. I mean, they hate the Bible. They seem to have great influence with the media. They can get their message out. They've captured so many of the schools. I mean, David, if we could just stop the bad people, could we save America? You know, very interesting when you look in the Bible. Turn, if you would, to 2 Chronicles chapter 7. When you look at what God says for saving a nation, He does not address it to the elected leaders or the kings or the government. He doesn't address it to the judges. He doesn't address it to the evildoers. It's a verse many of you are probably very familiar with. It's been beautifully put to song in a number of arrangements. But if you look at 2 Chronicles chapter 7 and verse 14, I want you to look at just the first three words. I'll read the whole verse in a minute. But notice what God says. How many believe you hold in your hand the Word of God? And God says, if my people. Say those three words this morning. If my people. Now, God just said if. Now, have you ever thought about what that really means? I mean, here you have God, through His Word, saying, if my people. That just put a decision on every person in this room. If you came in here as a man, if you came in here as a lady, if you came in here as a young person, every person here gets a chance to answer God's if. Now, my hope and prayer is that every person here will say yes. Every person here will say, God, you said, if my people, and yes, Lord, I want to take what's in this verse. I want to follow these principles. Yes, Lord, I want to be part of the answer for my nation. I hope every person here says yes to God this morning. But you know what's sad? And I really hope nobody here does this. But people do it all over our country. They get comfortable saying no to God. They'll hear a verse like this, or they'll hear truth out of the Word of God, and they'll hear God will say, if my people, and they'll say, wait a minute now, I don't want that Bible telling me what to do. I want to live my life my way. I mean, I want to go to heaven because, you know, hell, the alternative sounds pretty bad, but I don't want that messing up what I want to do. And people get comfortable saying no to God Himself. God says, if my people. Notice then what He says. I'll read the whole verse to you. He says, which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray, and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. Then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin. And notice this last phrase of promise, and will heal their land. How many believe God could heal Claremont, Florida? How many believe God could heal the United States of America? But it starts with if my people. Now, so you're super clear, this wasn't written to America. It was written many generations ago to the children of Israel, but I believe these principles apply to any nation in the world. How many believe God would like to heal Canada or Mexico? God would like to heal Afghanistan or Iraq, but you know what? It's going to start with, if my people.